and simply I wanted to share something I'm planning on working on, and I'm going to go through the entire process in this video. I was given this gorgeous fabric by someone like several years ago, and I've just been holding on to deciding what I want to do with it. I decided I'm going to make a wrap skirt with it because it's like one of my favorite things to wear, and I really want to elevate my clothing. And when it comes to the wrap skirts, I have two of them, and they're both in the red toning. And it's like sometimes I don't want to wear red, so I figured I'd take this. As you can see, it's kind of a, which will look really cute with my green petticoat underneath it, which I need to make another one of those. So I already cut it down to length. I gave it a little extra thing in the bottom so that way I have space for hemming and stuff like that. I like to wear my skirts a little high, but they always end up sliding down to there. And I'm a little short than most. My other wrap skirts are a little long for me, so it'll be great to have one that will actually fit me. So the first thing I need to do is bind the edges, but this is like this lacy fabric, and as I turn it to bind it in my normal way, you kind of show some of it, and I don't really like how that looks. So I ended up finding this other fabric right here that I think would look really, really good. I'm going to use it for the band as well, so we'll just wrap that around the edge, so that way I do not have to worry about the fabric coming through. So now I have our fabric here on the sewing machine. I have these different settings. Now because this fabric is kind of lacy like it is, I really want it to attach. So I'm going to use one of the zigzag stitches to really, really get it to hold up. And we just do the same thing on the other side, and there is our body piece. So after debating it, I decided to put a flounce on the bottom of it, and this is the fabric that I'm using for my trimming and band and everything like that. And measuring the length with how much big I want my flounce, I decided to do 1.5 longer than my skirt fabric right here, and that would be about this fabric 1.5. So we have the first part there, and we're getting ready to, we're finishing up cutting the next part, and then we'll bind them together, and we need to hem the bottom of it. So yeah, there we go. Hey everyone, so I was working at editing stuff. I realized I lost some of the video about adding on my flounce. If you don't know what a flounce is, it's a long, thin piece of fabric that you put at a bottom of a skirt that makes it extra fluffy. So typically it's pleated. So, and I talked about how I made about 1.5 longer. So I need to then pleat it to fit onto the body of the fabric. So what I did is I laid out my fabric out, and then I laid my flounce piece after I hemmed the bottom with just a rolled stitch and rolled hem, and then I lined up the edges and the center, and then just kind of from there pleated it. I wasn't after it being an even pleating or anything like that. So I just kind of like, the way I typically will go about this pleating is, there's several ways to do it, is you start at the halfway point and then one side, and then you find the middle of that, and the middle of that, and the middle of that, and you keep finding that until you get to where you want to, and you just start making pleats. So I did that. I pinned on my pleats, and I put it on the sewing machine, and then adjust the flounce piece to set those pleats, so I didn't worry about losing them when I had them attached to the body fabric. So, and then I just went ahead and started working on attaching it to the body fabric, and we'll get into how I did that on the sewing machine. So to attach the flounce, I kind of did a 2-step process. I kind of laid the flounce up there, and I just stitched it right across the pleating, attaching the two pieces. And then once when I did that, we go ahead and roll the pieces over on both sides. So that way it's kind of like a French pleat. And we get that on the sewing machine and sew across it one other time to keep it all in place. So there we go. Our flounce is attached. The band all cut, sewed together, and hemmed, which we just did double the length. I figured I could always trim a little extra off. I work on start pleating it. Don't mind my husband and my dog as they continue to walk through my screen. My husband was helping me as I was trying to figure out how to go about this pleating. So the first thing I do with pleating is I first line up the edges of the piece to where I want it to sit on the band. So this will be a little about the width of my waist. And then I start from the center, going from the edge. And I have this grid piece right here. And I kind of did a 2-inch grid. And I kind of did it to 1 inch. So I went, each grid is 1 inch. So I went from one side to the other. I would go over 2 and then link it to 1. And over 2 and link it to 1. So I got roughly about 1 inch pleats with 1 inch space in between each of the pleats. And so I'm just like sitting here kind of figuring out all of this garment as I go. I had a general idea of how I was going to put together, but yeah, most of it I'm just kind of like figuring this out as I go. Like I got here at the end and I had this lots of extra fabric that didn't get into the pleat, so I just decided to let's just pleat it out. And so then when I get done with that half, I move over to the other side. And I decided to keep them all going the same direction. So instead of going and doing them at the 2 to the 1, I did a 3 and then pulled it to the 1 because that gave me the closer gap. Because for the other one I was pulling in, I'm doing a different kind of like subtraction here. It ended up making a lot even and had it about the same. So once we got all that pleating done, and again we're pinning both the bottom and the top because I don't want to sew these pleats separately. I'm going to sew the pleats right into the band. And also realized I didn't do a good pinning on the other side, so we're going to get that more secured with some pins. Yeah, we just do that pleat all the way to the end. So once when I got done pleating it on the top, I took the top section and flipped it over because that was a little extra length that I did add just to be secure, and I figured I can always fold it over, and then I will pin that along the back just to make sure it stays secure as I go and sew it on the sewing machine. So on the sewing machine, I decided to do a zigzag stitch on the top and the bottom of the pleat section. And then to help secure the stuff on the back and so I don't have lots of large gaps in between my pleats, I did 2 straight stitches in the center section of the pleat to help pin back the fabric that I curled over on the one edge, and again also keep the pleats so I didn't have these large little gaps in them. Piece to cover right here, which I think this piece is almost perfectly long enough, so we'll just finish cutting this piece off. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially put it over this piece. now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew all around the edge to put this piece on. And cover up all my stitches on the back. So we have one last step, which I wanted to wait till I got like a little bit further in to do. So we're gonna head and do that now. We're gonna take these two ends and match them up. So there we go. And we're gonna pin these together really quick. So what we want to do is we want to create an angle piece and trim this to size. So this is the top. I'm thinking about angling it like that. I also need to cut off a few inches because it's very long. So I'm actually going to pull this one back a bit. We're just going to grab these scissors. You're going to cut. Just like, and now we need to hem them. Hey everyone, so I have it done and oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. It is gorgeous and beautiful. Don't mind me spinning out in my front patio. So, looks really good. So here's a little clip of me kind of dancing around in it.